I've already said this. I'm gonna say it again. This is like really some of my favorite time of the year. Just right now. I love the holidays. I love all the holidays. Just the break that we get, the reminders, all the ones through the year. Um, Christmas is obviously that nostalgic one. New Year's. Some people have some regrets over the New Year, their New Year's exploits and escapades and days gone by. But still, there's something about turning that calendar page because to me it's filled with hope, right? For some though, I realize, like my friend who just his wife passed away a couple of weeks ago. That there's that struggle of going into this new year, and the reality is what I had is not what I'm going in here with, and so we should be sensitive to all of those things, but at the same time, life does go on, right? And so we just have to think about those things. I spend this week, really the month, but zero in on the week, looking at what I call the good, the bad, and the ugly. When our kids were younger, the first set, they would come in from college on the New Year's time, and that back then it seemed like schedules were a little more easier, and so we would all actually hang out on Thanksgiving. I mean, on New Year's Eve, and we would take that time to have a really good meal, and we would talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And that was years ago now. Seems like early 2000s maybe, but it was rich. Just kind of going through those things, and we kind of do that some at the Thanksgiving or the Thanksgiving break, not Thanksgiving break, but the fall break, where we'll go to the mountains, and whoever gathers as a family, we kind of go through those things. But I love looking in my past of this year and go, what was good, so that I can just say, hey, thank you, Lord. And I want to know what the bad was, and I want to thank Him for that. And the ugly, for me, the ugly is the stupidity of my life, right? The bad, sometimes I can't control what happens, and things that aren't helpful feel bad. They come in. Well, I'm going to be grateful for those two because we know things. And then the ugly is that stuff where I have to go, man, I was a jerk, really, right there, wasn't I? Lord, I don't want to be that guy, right? And so I take the time and do that. And then I still go through what we call the 7 F's, and I go through faith, family, and friends, the field, that place where I work, fitness, finance, and fun, and just go, how was that? And what do I want better coming in to the new year? I don't know how you do that, but I do that. And sometimes, as I seek the Lord and say, what do I need to focus on? I've felt the Lord give me a word before, like just one word, like, hope or refresh, those kind of things, and I'll carry that through the year with me. Sometimes it's a verse that will come up, and I'll think, man, that's a great verse just for my life, and I'll go through expectations of what I want, and hopes and dreams, and so I'll think through those things, like what I want for Tammy and I, what do I want for myself, what I want for our gatherings like this, what I want for my family, my future, all of those things. And it's just fun for me. I don't come to conclusions other than just, where's the Lord bringing me? And I know nobody likes resolutions, right? Or I feel like I don't do resolutions. I'm like, well, why? And I think some people do it because of fear, because they know that they're probably not going to follow through, and they don't want to have a failure on their grade. So rather not take the test than take it and fail. And I think that's what some people do. But I think some people just like comfort, right? They don't want change. It's easier to go, no, I don't do resolution, because if I do them, then I'll have to change, and I don't want to. I don't do this stuff to beat myself up, though. I do it because I want freedom from whatever was messing me up last year, and I want to walk into the new year alert to what God wants for me, right? And so this is why I do it, and I'm dragging y'all into it this year. I probably do this every year, but it's because I think it's important that we do that. I know I talk a lot about the 7 F's, those areas. I talk about it a lot at work. We're always bringing that up there. I talk about it here. I talk about it with my family. It's just one of those things. And not because I like spreadsheets, although that's kind of sort of what it is. But I think sometimes it's the unexamined places that I don't look, and I drift, and I don't want to drift. I don't want to. I don't think anybody starts out life going, man, I hope I'm the worst version of myself this coming year, right? Everybody sets out going, hey, I want to be really good. But if we're not intentional and directional and looking at these things, then we tend to drift back into old habits and old people. And I don't want somebody to say, you're the same old Randy. I wouldn't mind that looks as you get older. You kind of like, but I hope I'm not. I hope I'm not the same guy I was 10 years ago. That guy was a jerk in a lot of ways. I mean, that has some good quality, but he was, I want to be better. And so this is why I do what I do. And so I try to tell myself the truth. And so today, I really have, it's 3 parts, but it's really just 2 words that is what I'm going to carry into the year. And I would encourage you to as well. And it's just this: love well. And that's, I know that sounds kind of cliche in some sense, but it's what I've got a ton of notes in my journals, and I have so many places where I write notes. Now I got the loose leaf things where I can reinsert them where they need to go, and so I'm a happy man now. I got this book that lets me do that. But as I look at everything that I lay out and mind map, it just kept drifting back to 2 verses and 2 words, and the 2 words are just love well. I just want to do that better. I thought a lot about my mom these holiday seasons. I'm not getting emotional. I'm just saying I thought about my mom. My mom just loves well. And it was always frustrating as a kid that she loved as well as she did. And then when you're pastoring a church and, she's better at pastoring than you are, and you're like, how does she do it? I work really hard and it just flows out of her. And I just thought, all my mom's life always boiled down to she loved well. She just did, when we were cleaning out the house, and she lived in this house before we did, and so we would start cleaning out things, and you'd find letters that she wrote that she never sent. But some of them were kind of harsh, and I'm like, probably good you didn't send that, Mom. But at the same time, it was just you could see that she was working through loving well, right? And so those letters weren't meant to be read. They were meant for her to vent about some things and what she would like to say, I guess, if the occasion arose. But whatever it was, and I don't mean to get off into that. I just think I would like to be a little more like her, because she was a lot more like Jesus. And so when I think about loving well, this is what it is. And so I'm just sharing this with you because this is where the Lord's been taking me. I hope it's going to be helpful for you. 2 verses have been in my head over the past several months, really. One of them we've looked at already. It's in Luke chapter 10. You don't even need to turn there. You can turn to Micah. We're going to go there, and you're probably familiar with that. But Luke 10, simply this, and Jesus says it in 3 different occasions. He said it to the Pharisees, he said it to the scribe, and then he said it to the rich young ruler. And they were asking him, what is the great command? And he says this: love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul, and all your, Luke adds strength, right? So most have 3. He adds the 4th one, that you would love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul, and all your strength. And he says, and the second is like it, that you would love your neighbor as yourself. And so if you think about the 10 commandments, Jesus reduced them to 2. Remember that song, Name That Tune? I can do it in 2 notes. I can do it in whatever. It's kind of like, that's so old. Y'all probably don't even know it. But I feel like that's kind of what Jesus, he said, I can do it in 2, right? So he took the first 3 or 4 commandments and said, well, that's simply just loving God. That's what it looks like. Don't put any God before you. Don't take his name in vain, right? And then the last 6 have to do with each other. And so he just says, this is, if we reduce it down to its barest minimum, it's that we love well. We love God well, and we love people well. And in that phrase, when he says love your neighbor as yourself, I think he makes the assumption that we love ourselves well. But I think sometimes we may falter at that too. And so that's the one impetus, and I want to talk about that practically in just a minute. The other comes from Micah chapter 6, or Micaiah. I think that's really actually the way the Hebrews say it, but we always say Micah, and I'm going to go with Micah because I had a girl in my youth group that her name was Micah, and so it just kind of rolls off the tongue better. But for those of you who want preciseness, it's probably Micaiah. But I'm going to start in chapter 6, verse 1. Now, Micah was a prophet to both Judah and the northern tribe, and there were a couple that were like that. He lived in Judah though, so he was really more to the southern tribe. And he was a contemporary of Isaiah and Hosea. They both wrote at the same. They were both prophets. God would send people. In the past, remember, he sent judges, and then they had kings. Well, then kings got stupid, so he goes, I guess I won't bring judges in. I'm just going to bring prophets in. So they function like a prophet. Anytime Israel was going astray, God would raise up a prophet that would say, hang on, listen to me, right? And so there would be those warnings. And that's the graciousness of God that prophets and judges were around. Sometimes we see that as harshness, but it was grace. It was God saying, hey, listen to me. Listen, stop it. Don't make me put you in a well, right? I mean, it's that kind of thing, like the big well, not the well that, Anyway, Jonah in the well. And so this whole book of Micah is all about corruption and injustice. And so, God through Micah is kind of bringing the tribe to court. So we should see it in kind of the flavor of a court. And it says this, listen to what the Lord says. Stand up, plead your case before the mountains. Let the hills hear what you have to say. Hear, O mountain, the Lord's accusation. Listen, you everlasting foundations of the earth. For the Lord has a case against his people. Right? So he's bringing a grievance. Hey, I'm pretty hacked off with you people right now. And I want it known. And so this is what he says. For the Lord has a case against his people. He is lodging a charge against Israel. My people, what have you done? What have I done to you? How have I burdened you? Answer me. He's like, why? What have I done to you? Have I burdened you with anything? Is there something going on here? Because we have issues. He says this, I brought you out of Egypt. Remember that? I brought you out. You were in bondage for 400 years. And I heard your cries. And I raised up Moses. I brought you out of Egypt. He says, I redeemed you from the land of slavery. When you came out, slavery was never anything that was going to happen to you anymore. I sent Moses to lead you, and also Aaron and Miriam. My people, remember what Balak, king of Moab, counseled, and what Balaam, son of Beor, answered. Remember your journey from Shittim to Gilgal, that you may know the righteous acts of the Lord? With what shall I come before the Lord? He said, I know what you're thinking. So what am I supposed to, what am I going to pay? How do I get out of the mess I'm in, Lord? This is what he's saying, right? He's first brought the charge, and he's saying, I know you're wondering what the price is. And so he starts that in verse 6. With what shall I come before the Lord and bow down before the exalted God? Am I supposed to bow down? Is that what I've got to do now? Shall I come before you with burnt offerings? Am I going to bring you stuff and offer things to you? With calves a year old, will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams and 10,000 rivers of oil? How much do I have to give you, Lord? He's saying, this is what he's saying. I know what you're thinking. Shall I offer my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? And he simply comes to this powerful phrase right here. He's already showed you, oh man. Why are you doing that? He has shown you, oh man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? But to act justly, to love mercy, to walk humbly with God. That's it. That's what he's saying. And so we're just going to kind of look at that phrase and those things, because that is what love looks like. To walk in justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with God. And so I'm going to take those two verses, or two sections, right? There are more verses in that, but those two sections, one from the Old Testament and one from the New Testament, and just go back to this thing. And so I think there's three areas I'm going to focus this year. I want to love God well. That's priority. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. And so if I'm analyzing my life and encouraging you to do the same, then we're going to ask ourselves, is God my heart's desire? Really, right? I mean, when he says with your heart, I think that would, if Tammy and I are having some issues and she goes, hey, I kind of wondering, do you love me? That's a hard issue. Somewhere, maybe I have put something in her place. Maybe I've justified it and said, well, I'm doing it for you. But it's not the doing. Don't you remember in Revelation, you've left your first love, right? Go back and do those things. He said, you're doing well, but it's motion. And so we have to say, is it just motion, or am I really in love with God? Does my heart belong to him? That's a hard question, because I think in truth, I don't know who could say that perfectly. I'd like to think so, but I have to be honest. There are times when there are a lot of other things that get kind of clouded in that heart that I'm focused on. And so I'm kind of doing some deep work in my own life right now. I'm saying, hey, what are those things? What are the things that have crowded my heart that ought to go? And I could give you a list of things, but this isn't a therapy session. But you may have your own, right? About things that should happen. And then the soul, with all your soul, right? And so do I love God like from the soul, from the who I am, right? At the core of who I am. Do I understand how I am nothing without him? That's what the soul says, right? And so like David cried out in Psalm 42 and 43, oh soul, why are you weary? Why are you downcast? What he's saying is somehow my soul has been given over to anxiety and depression and everything else. And he's going, so he's having self-talk to his soul. And he says, I will yet praise God. I will not let this beat me, right? And so the soul has to say, where am I feeling deep things that I shouldn't, right? Like doubt, like anxiety, like worry, right? Like all of those things says somehow I've let things replace in my soul what God was meant to feel all the time, right? Does it make sense to you? So this is how I see it, right? And same thing with the mind, my thoughts, my pursuits. Where's my mind? It should be, and I have a goal, and I always feel like I lose it halfway through the day. But when I leave out of here, I'm like, I'm going to be God's man to people today. My eyes are up and out. I tell that to myself in the car almost every day. My eyes are up and out. I'm ready to be his servant. And then about halfway through the day, I realized, man, my eyes drifted back down to me, and I got busy doing my own thing, and I was insensitive to the guy that stuck his head in the door, and I should have listened to better, right? And so I want to go through those things. To love God well means that I'm his servant, and that my mind is stayed on him, and so that I want to hear him well. And then it says with all my strength, right? And there are times when, right, life just wears us down, and we feel like sometimes we don't have the strength to get up and off the sofa. Well, some of that's our own fault, right? Some of that's we did a bunch of stupid stuff, and we did a bunch of things we shouldn't be doing, and we're just, our body, our strength is just not where it ought to be. My schedule's too thin. I didn't allow for interruptions in my day. I planned it from start to finish because I'm a busy man, right? And the Lord's like, hey, slow down, little tiger. Let's breathe a minute. And so to love God well, I think that's how Jesus phrases it. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And then Micah phrases it like this: to walk humbly before God, right? That comes down to submission. Like literally, like the prayer, not my will, but thine be done, right? I spent most of my days, and I share this all the time, I'd write out my plans and just say, Lord, if you just stamp that, I'll be on my way. I don't need you after that. Just mark it good, and I'll rock. God never wants to do that. And so humility means to recognize that God knows best. See, the reason why we have anxiety and we have depression is because we don't think God does best. And so we think, well, he didn't give me enough money today. I got to go crazy and start another job, start 3 more jobs, and all of a sudden we're off into all this stuff instead of going, I'm going to be right where the Father wants me, right? And so it's like I just have to trust him. It's that phrase we use all the time: if God don't help, help ain't coming, right? And that's the phrase that to walk humbly before God, that's really what you're saying. I am every step, I am dependent that you will meet my needs. We had Jameson around here a lot recently. It's been kind of fun. He's walking now, talking a lot. He's doing all those things. He never has to worry, though, about a meal. I mean, one, his mom's going to keep shoving food at him all the time because she's that mom, right? And I went into his room the other night, and I'm like, it's like a mini Toys R Us. I'm like, this kid's on sensory overload, right? He never lacks. He never had to ask for any of that because he can't really ask those things yet. But all his needs are met, and so he may not know that, but you and me should know that about the God that we serve. And so there's this trust that I'm okay. I'm okay. What does he say about this situation? What does he want for this situation? And do I trust him, right? He is the God who changes hearts, and sometimes circumstances are the way he does that. And so sometimes I realize the circumstance I'm in is because God's interested in going, hey, how about you come at it from this angle and look at it? How about you change your heart, right? Sometimes it's bondage. Yeah, that happened because you have an addiction, and I want it gone. I don't mean addiction like we think, but it could be that. And so we just have to think through those things. And humbly walk with him implies that I walk with him. He doesn't walk with me. We like to say a lot, he walks and he talks with me, right? But really, what Jesus was always doing wasn't saying, oh, y'all want to go that way? Oh, okay. I'll go with you. He's always, hey, follow me, right? He's always inviting us to follow him. And I think sometimes we get that backwards. I like to think, oh yeah, he's just with me. Yeah, but sometimes he's dragging me because I'm going the wrong way, and he's got me by the scruff of the neck, and and that's why life feels hard. It's about I'm going to go where he wants. I'm going to follow him. I'm going to listen to him. I'm going to trust him. And so that's a part of this message that to me, this is where I am. I want to love God well. What I've got written down and what I'm looking at, that's what I want. And so I'm going to take the time to figure out how can I do that better. And then the second thing is I want to love others well. I want to love people well, right? I have a lot of responsibility at work in a lot of different ways now, but one of them is that somehow I feel like I'm the guy that I should be ready for these guys when trouble comes. When they didn't get the bigger bonus that they thought, when they didn't get the time off and the holiday off that they thought, when they don't feel like they've gotten a fair shot at things, I want to love them well. I had an opportunity to do a funeral last week for a guy that actually left the company, but I was very excited to be able to love well. Right? I don't want to be tied to something. I want to be Jesus' man, and I want to love people well. No matter who else wants to join me in that or who doesn't. I want to be that guy that isn't holding on to a party or anything else like that. Just this is who I am. And so he says in Micah, this is how he says it: do justice. Misfat, that's the word there. It means to do the right thing. It's righteousness, it's justice, it's just to do the right thing. Do the right thing. It has nothing to do with, well, I'll do the right thing if I like you, or I'll do the right thing, if you fit in my world or my mold or whatever. No, it's indiscriminate. I'm just going to do the right thing to you. You can't make me mad, and you can't make me treat you with an indignified approach. That's always my choice. And if I love people well, I'm going to do what's right. I'm not going to be reactive and do something. Well, I'm saying this by faith. I know I'm probably going to, but I'm not going to be reactive. I'm going to be proactive. And it doesn't matter whether you say thank you after I've opened the door for you. I'm not going to push it on your butt on the way in because you didn't, right? I mean, that's just kind of what I'm talking about. I know it's kind of practical, but I'm just saying that's what we're talking about. Treating others rightly, even if it's an inconvenience, even if it's costly to me, and even if nobody's watching. I want to do the right thing. There are times we have people call still, and want to know if we have groceries and everything else. And, so and there's a lot of cost involved in doing all of that. But we still are, we take the offerings that were given here and all of that, and we go and we do. And we don't always invite people into our home to get the groceries these days. That's where we keep them. But we'll meet them somewhere. And Tammy's always, it's an inconvenience. And Tammy, man, she's a gem at doing that, right? And nobody's watching. And I probably shouldn't have even said it. But I'm just saying, those things, I want to do that. I want to be the guy that shows up with what you need when you need it, because the Lord said to, and because I loved him well, I'm going to love you well. It also means I'm going to tell the truth. That's what justice is, right? I'm not going to sugarcoat. I'm going to love you. I'm going to tell the truth. And I'm going to do it in love. And I'm going to do what's right. So sometimes I'm going to say, I can't help you. And here's why, right? Because you need to get yourself off the couch and you need to get a job. I'll help you get one, but I can't help you here until you do that. I had to do that this season as well. And so you just have to be able to have those conversations. But I want to love people well. Do justice. That's what it means, to do the right thing. And to love mercy. That's the word. It's a crazy word. It's called hesed. And it's deeper than love. It's like love on steroids. It's love 10x. The word hesed in the Hebrew. It's a love beyond understanding. It's what drove... you will find that word when David was saying, man, if I could just drink some water from Jerusalem, it would be an amazing thing. And 3 of his mighty men go, hey, let's go get that. And so they go through literal warfare and because Jerusalem's been taken over, and they go in there and they get the water and they bring it back. And it was because of hesed that they did that, because they were deeply in love with him. And so these are the things that I want to be. I want to have mercy like that, right? I want to have compassion and grace and empathy. I want to listen better to people when they talk. I want to forgive quicker than people could even imagine. I want to speak well. I don't want to just speak my mind. I want to speak his. I don't want to just shoot from the hip. I want to say only what he says. And I want to serve well. The whole world, there's another phrase that I use a lot. We're all that far from cracking up, right? It's funny, Tammy and I went walking. Saturdays, we usually park at the library in Trussville. And then we walk over to Maple Avenue and get some coffee. It's a great little spot in Trussville. And then we usually walk to the market over at the theater there, whatever that thing's called. Ferris Entertainment District, and then we make our way back to our car, and it's a great time. So they've got these roundabouts in Trussville now, and they've got a new road. So I wanted to walk down the new road, which took us, long story, took us by Edgar's Bakery, and so we didn't stop there. It's a great little place, but anyway, and so then we turned to head home. Well, I got a phone call. It was my friend Larry, and he said, I saw you. He said, I wanted to get up and talk to you. And he said, you didn't come in. And he said, it was too late. I just want to let you know, I love you. And he said, I got this group that meets there. It's called Coffee and a Question. And he said, I thought about you. He said, I wanted everybody to meet you. He said, because I quote you a lot. And he said, I quote 2 things. It was funny because he said these 2 things. If God don't help ain't coming, and we're all this far from cracking up. And he said, I can't tell you how many times I say that. So it kind of reminded me, though, of these phrases. And those are phrases that the Lord burned in my heart the hard way, by not doing those things and not realizing those things. I think we went through some difficult times because the one time we had that perfect white little picket fence and life was rosy, and then it felt like somebody just went in and just blew the whole thing to hell and back, right? And all of a sudden you realize, because people have depression, I'm like, you just need to trust God until the whole world collapses and you go, this hurts. This feels bad. I don't like what's going on. Is there an escape route? So, right? And then all of a sudden you realize, oh, that's a thing. And so it took me a long time to realize that we're all that far from cracking up because I didn't feel like I was. Live long enough, though, grief and fear and shame and depression and trauma and pressure, all those things come on you, right? Everybody's dealing with that. And I think if we could just realize that, we would love better. And so, I want to be more gentle. I want to be slow to judge people. I'm so quick to that. I mean, I just feel like I know exactly what their problem is, and I'm like, you're an idiot. You didn't know half of what you thought you knew. I want to be a lot quicker to forgive, and I want to have a kinder tone. I'd like my sarcasm to throttle back a little, and so, okay, a lot. It needs to. I'll be happy with a little. Tammy would be grateful for a lot. But anyway, those are, I just want to love well. And I'm not excusing people's sin in any of that, but I still think we can love well in the middle of it, right? They don't have to see me judging them. And in fact, I shouldn't. That's his job. So anyway, enough of that. That's too painful. Let's go to the third one. I need to love myself well, right? Love your neighbor as yourself. And so, but not, I'm so tired of self-care. That's a word that seems like been going on in this generation, in this season. And I'm like, I think that's a scam. That's your way of saying, I want to avoid people I don't like anymore. I was self-care. Well, no, God didn't give me that option. What if he wants those people to work in my life? And what if I'm supposed to work in their life? But I'm like, nope, I got bound. And listen, I realize all the psychology does that. I'm a little exaggerated here, but there's a lot of truth in what I'm telling you. That a lot of people use self-care as a way of not dealing with their past and their crap, and they need to. And it's also a way to just increase selfishness. Just to go, nope, I don't have time for that today. Well, maybe you should have time for that. Because we are our brother's keeper, whether we like to think it or not. And so, this is about as harsh as I'm going to say that. I may have said that to me as well as anybody else. But I think I have to love myself well. To me, means exactly that I have to love my body well enough to keep it in decent shape, right? To remove the addictions that may be deteriorating my body. To eat better, to keep all my joints working. I think to love well means I'm gonna take care of my body because it's the temple that God has given to me to house the living God, and I think we ought to treat it better than we do. And so there's that, and then there's loving my mind, and so I want to be careful what I watch and what I think and what I do. I don't want to run down those rabbit trails of dark thoughts, or evil thoughts, or wicked thoughts, or all of those things. And so, I want to be careful what goes in all the gates, the ear gate, the eye gate, right, and all of those things. And so, maybe that means less news. Less Netflix, less noise, right? Just sometimes just like I'm not doing all of that. I'm gonna keep my mind as pure as I can. I'm gonna read, I'm gonna learn, I'm gonna grow. I'm not gonna think I've arrived. I'm gonna love my soul well. That means I'm gonna guard my heart. I think we have to. That's what Solomon says, guard your heart. Above all else, guard your heart, for it is the wellspring of life. Once I start believing things that aren't true, and falsehoods, and all of that, my heart can get divided, my heart can get poisoned, my heart can get dry. Right, all the things that can happen to a river can happen to my heart, and I want to stop that. I don't want to poison my heart. I don't want to be divided. Those are the things. So anyway, that's the ramblings of this message today. I guess if I were to ask, how we doing, that's for you to do, and you should probably just kind of think through that. And if we could ramble through those 7 F's real quick. In the faith area, how are you doing in the area of justice? Are you basing your life on truth and what's right or not? Or are you, man, I see so many Christians today want to alter what the Bible says just to make it, comfortable for them. And I'm like, that's not loving well. Mercy, am I giving myself grace? Am I giving other people grace? And humility, those are the 3 areas: justice, mercy, humility, right? Am I submitting to God? If we take that and go through the family, am I treating my family right? Am I treating my friends right? Am I treating my work right? Am I being gracious in those areas? Am I submissive in those areas and putting them first? Are my eyes up and out when it relates to my family, my faith, my friends, and my field where I work? How am I doing with my finances? Am I using them as a good steward, or am I not? Am I using them for justice or not? Am I using them for mercy or not? Am I using them and submitting them to God and say, these are yours and I'm just a holder of it? Those are the questions that we have to ask ourselves. Same thing in the area of fitness, which we already talked about in the body, and fun, right? Just those are the things. And yeah, I'm excited about the new year. I'm excited about taking this truth into this new year. And I guess I say it out loud, so now you're free to hold me accountable if you want to. Just love me well when you do that, right? Tammy specifically. Anyway, we'll just enjoy the year together. I've got a great song. Just reminds me to be grateful, and I hope you enjoy it as well as I do.